Hello, welcome to Stories Quick. Today I will show a recap of a mystery thriller movie titled Luckiest Girl Alive. Spoilers alert, watch out and take care. The movie begins with Ani, a New York women's editor, shopping for blades as she prepares to marry her boyfriend, Luke, a documentary director, in 5 weeks. Ani is shown the blade, and she imagines the blade covered with blood with Luke on the floor. She quickly snaps out of the imagination and rejects the blade, stating that it's too heavy. Ani seems to be safe and happy to be with Luke, even though she keeps some secrets from him, as she is seen eating all the pizza at the pizza shop, even though she lies that the waitress spills a drink on the pizza and her clothes. Elsewhere, Ani goes to the gym and soon leaves to catch a bus with her friend, Null. After waiting for some time at the station, Null insists that they take another route as she has an interview with the documentary editor. Inside the bus, while they talk, a drunk man enters the bus, making Ani uneasy, and she has flashbacks, which scares her. At work, Lolo informs her that her name will be on the masthead of the New York Times magazine as her wedding gift, and Ani is happy as she's close to achieving her dream, which is to be the senior editor of the Times magazine. Soon after, Ani meets with the director, Aaron, who informs her that her former classmate, Dean, has agreed to the interview as he has a new book to promote. Ani is not interested in the documentary, and she shows him her ring, telling him that she's busy with her wedding plans. It turns out that Ani was a survivor of the deadliest school shooting, and the public needs to hear her story as Dean said that she was involved in the shooting. Aaron assures her that he's only after the truth, but Ani asks him to leave, refusing to do the interview. Ani leaves to search the internet about Dean, and she sees Dean's article, accusing her of being involved in the shoot. She then has a flashback to when she went to Brentley School. After noticing every click, Ani soon makes friends with Dean and his friends, Liam and Peyton. At Ani's house, Luke returns, and she tells him about the documentary. He encouraged her not to interview if she doesn't want to, as she doesn't need to explain herself to anyone. He then tells her about the opportunity given to him to move to London and suggests that Ani can participate in the MFA program in order to write for herself. Even though Ani is close to working at New York Times magazine, as Lolo promised her that she's close to reviewing her contract there, she agrees to move to London. While shopping for her wedding dress, Ani continues to have flashbacks to a party in her high school. Later on, she receives a call from Aaron, and Null is surprised as she thought Ani isn't interested in the interview. However, Ani tells her that she wants to marry Luke and work at the Times magazine before she tells the story, as she thinks everyone will believe her more. She then calls Aaron and agrees to do the interview. At her office, while going through the internet, she sees hate comments about her marriage to Luke, causing her to continue with the flashback of the past. Not long, Lolo interrupts her and calls her to her office. She informs Ani that they are moving to New York Times magazine, which makes her happy. Later that day, Ani and Luke have dinner with Andrew and his wife. Upon seeing Andrew, Ani recognizes him as her former teacher in high school. He tells them about the documentary with Aaron and asks if Ani is also going to do the interview. She informs them that she has agreed to it and adds that they will be moving to London after their wedding. On their way home, Luke asks Ani if she's serious about interviewing, as he wants her to participate in the MFA and be able to write her own book, instead of telling a story about her past. Ani tells him about the job offer at New York Times magazine and adds that she has always dreamed of telling her story for vindication. It turns out that Ani was raped by Dean and his 2 friends on the night of the party. When it was Dean's turn, Ani hit his head on the shelf and escaped. She runs to a store where she meets Mr. Andrew. Andrew takes her to his house to freshen up and asks that he tell her mother and take her to the hospital as she cannot be seen at his place, but Ani refuses. The next day, Ani meets with Aaron and he informs her that Dean is willing to vindicate her and apologize for accusing her of being involved in the shoot. However, Ani tells him that she's interested in the gang rape and Aaron assures her that he will keep her away from Dean until she permits him. Soon after, Luke and Ani have a meal with Luke's parents, alongside her mother, Dina. However, Ani soon leaves to watch Dean's interview. Null meets with her, and Ani tells her how she feels sorry for Dean whenever she sees him in the wheelchair, even though she wants to hate him. Later on, Ani leaves the gathering and walks away, with Dina chasing after her. Dina blames her for what happened to her as she refuses to follow her rules and asks that she doesn't destroy her hard work of bringing her together with Luke, insinuating that she wants her to marry Luke for his money. Later at night, Ani apologizes to Luke for her behavior, and the two begin to kiss, even though Ani kisses him roughly, hurting his lips. They try to make love, but Ani stops him and leaves the room. In a flashback, Andrew takes Ani to the headmaster, Maya, to report the incident to him. However, Maya tells her that she needs to be ready for whatever will happen, as she was under the influence of alcohol also, but Andrew defends her, stating that she told them no. As Maya is about to call her mother to inform her, Ani stops him and says that she changed her mind about reporting the incident, causing Andrew to be fired for allowing them to leave the school premises. Ani immediately rushes to Arthur's house as he knows about the incident, and he informs her about how Dean and his friends bullied Ben, his friend. Arthur is angry at Ben for dropping the charges, and he isn't happy as Ani is also doing the same. Soon after, Ani goes for her interview with Aaron, where she explains the shooting incident. They were at the cafeteria when a bomb blew off. Soon, Arthur and Ben begin to kill the student, starting with Peyton. Liam is also killed while he runs away with Ani. However, Arthur meets up with her and Dean, and he gives the gun to Ani to kill Dean, as she also wants revenge. Meanwhile, Ani is scared to kill him, forcing Arthur to take the gun and shoot him. Ani then brings out a knife and stabs Arthur in the neck, leaving him confused as he thought they were on the same side. At the funeral, Dean lies that Ani joined Ben and Arthur to plan the massacre, as he rejected her from being her boyfriend, after making out with him and his friends. Dina and Ani leave the funeral, and she scolds Ani for drinking, telling her that she isn't the child she raised. During the interview, Dean suddenly appears, causing Ani to panic and leave. Aaron goes after her to inform her that Dean was not supposed to be there, trying to convince her to continue the interview, but Ani isn't having any of it and leaves. On getting home, she tells Luke that she left as it doesn't feel like the right thing to do. She also adds that she's considering writing a book, and Luke is happy as she finally agrees with his suggestion. The next day, Ani meets with Lolo while packing her stuff and informs her that she's moving to London. She also gives her an article she wrote. After reading it, Lolo tells her that it's not worth reading as she's trying to protect Dean. She advises her to write what she wants to say and not what everyone else wants. Elsewhere, at Luke's new book launching, after his speech, Ani meets with Luke, who tells her that he's going to take down his article about her involvement in the shooting, but on the condition that she doesn't speak about what happened between them. Dean shows little regret, stating that he has a wife and children, and her story can destroy his family. However, Ani feels threatened, but asks him to admit to what he did that night, which he does. It turns out that Ani was secretly recording their conversation and now has his confession. At Luke and Ani's rehearsal dinner, Ani finds out that her story will be published in New York Times Magazine, and she's happy about it. She soon calls Luke outside to show him the article, but Luke is angry as he thought that she has moved past the incident and wishes that she handled it privately. However, Ani tells him that she has always wished to tell her story and adds that she has been using him to hide from her past, breaking up the marriage. Later on, Ani begins her job at New York Times Magazine, and she's happy as she believes that she belongs there. Soon after, Noel visits her and shows her the magazine with her article, and Ani is very happy. She soon begins to receive messages from females who are afraid to tell their stories as she gives them hope. Ani has an interview and she encourages other victims out there to also tell their stories. On her way out, she meets with Sarah, a writer who covers public health. Sarah tells her that Dean has helped a lot of people and says that she hopes her 15 minutes of fame will also do the same. Ani feels humiliated but calls back to her to go f herself. The movie ends with Ani walking away and feeling proud of herself for talking back at Sarah. Thank you for watching the recap. Please subscribe to our channel to get notified when we post the next recap. See you next time.